Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is John with Addicted to Fishing. Today we're going to cover high-speed reel versus low-speed reels. And this one just happens to be an older Sitka that I'm going to use for demonstrations because most of these reels that I'm covering are on rods. I picked 4 Shimano reels, all a little bit different speeds. 3 of them are now considered slower speeds. Back in the day, a 6-speed reel was considered high speed. And then I definitely have more of my cranking reel. It's a lower speed reel, and I'm going to show you the reels, and then I'm going to talk about why slowing down a high speed reel isn't really slowing it down. So for the biggest difference between the two is the newer, and it's not necessarily brand new, but a newer Corrado 200. It's a 7/4-to-1 reel. And every revolution of the handle, it brings in 31 inches of line. The other Corrado is the 200 DPV, and it comes in at a whopping 5.0-to-1 speed, and it brings in only 21 inches of line. And what the difference is there, and it's the biggest wide gap between the two, and it kind of helps you explain. I was having this conversation today while I was out fishing, the difference between high-speed reel, low-speed reel. Why would I want a reel that's slow? They're kind of a thing of the past. Why not just get all high-speed reels? It'll help you out a lot long-term. In actuality, that's not all truthful information. So let's take in, we'll use the Sitka. This happened to be a 6/3-to-1 reel. It brings in 27 inches of line per handle crank. And then what I mean by that is every time you take a whole revolution, you're bringing in 27 inches of line. So one of the things to keep in mind is you can move your bait too fast. And no matter how you're cranking, how slow you're cranking that reel, you're still bringing in the same amount of line. Every handle turn, whether it's a quick one or whether it's a painfully slow one, is still bringing in, like on the regular Corrado 200, 31 inches per handle turn versus the DPV at a simple 21 inches. That's 10 inches of difference. Over the course of a cast, you could be bringing in an extra, and we'll just use a round number, 10 foot of line, or you're moving your bait 10 feet further without even having to slow down. I know there's different angles that you can hold your rod at. That's a whole different subject. That'll keep your bait higher in a water column, lower in a water column. But today we're just simply talking about speed. So when you're throwing a crankbait, for an example, not only does those lower speeds like a 5.2 or even the Sitka at a 6.3, you're getting a lot more torque out of the reel. They're great for throwing big swim baits, definitely cranking. If you're musky fishing, there's big musky baits, striper fishing, big striper baits, things of that nature. My high-speed reels, my newer Corrado at 200, you can see I'm throwing a moving bait, a spinner bait on it. I could flip and pitch with that reel where that speed isn't really a concern. But if you're throwing a crankbait on a 7-speed reel, a lot of times you get that crankbait to blow out. Or you're simply just moving it way too fast. Sometimes there's situations where the fish will react to the bait no matter how fast you're moving it. Usually when they're power feeding, it doesn't really make a difference. But when they're like this time of the year, they're starting to power feed a little bit. In the middle of summer, when they're kind of lethargic, that water's really hot, that reel speed really can make a difference. You won't wear yourself out really any more or any less. There's definitely a purpose for low speed reels and high speed reels. I mean, I've got a lot of older reels. You know, this is an old Bass Pro Shop tourney special. It's a 6-3 to 1. I think this old, again, Bass Pro Shop tourney special. This might be a Johnny Morse reel. I think they called this one high speed, and it's like a 6-speed reel. You know, and I'm just talking about the lower profile reels. I'm not talking about anything round reel. You know, here's an older Greeny Corrado Bantam. This is the Super Free. I've got it bagged up so I can try to keep it from getting scratched. But it's definitely a lower speed reel. So anyway, guys, don't be mistaken that if you get a high speed reel, that whole revelation that you're making on that, or the whole revolution of the handle turn. Again, that handle turn is what you got to look at what that pickup is. Now, if I go to the Sitka that brings in 27 inches and a Corrado that brings in 31 inches, it's only 4 inches difference, but 4 inches is still 4 inches. The difference between this reel and my Calius, this is a 6-3 to 1. The Calius is a 6-2 to 1. This one brings in 27 inches. The Calius brings in 26. So it's only an inch difference in line. But believe me, it makes a big difference. I've taken my nephew out fishing that'll fish a higher speed reel. We're both throwing the same type of moving baits. I'll be catching fish and he won't. And sometimes he doesn't understand, but he's actually moving the bait a lot faster than I am. No matter if he slows down, it makes no difference. He's still moving that bait a lot faster. Your slower speed reels, again, you know, depending on their size, a little 100 size reel is not really what I'm talking about here, but like a 200 or 300 size reel. And you're throwing these big swim baits, like this big glide bait, big paddle tails, regular big, just like that glide I showed you, a big swim bait like that. They're great for that. They're great for cranking. They're great for a lot of different things. I mainly use them for my big swim baits and cranking. My higher speed reels, my things that are 7.4. I think my SLX is a 7.1. I think I have a Canon over there that's 7.1. A Metanium that's 7.4 maybe. I think I have a few other reels that are definitely in that mid-6 versus the 5. The mid-6 reels are good, kind of in the middle ground. They're not necessarily that slow, they're not that fast, but I can use them for spinnerbaits, bladed jigs, some top water. Sometimes the top water, I don't mind that higher speed reel with it because I'm picking up that slack. Definitely flipping and pitching if you're wanting to flip in an area and you're trying to get that bait out quick. The higher speed reel helps you with that. And there's a reason why the guys pick those high-speed reels for flipping and pitching. It definitely picks up line a lot faster. On the round reels, I don't have one of them out here with me. But I got a couple Cardiffs and a couple Calcuttas. This is a Corvallis. I don't know what I think the line speed on these are a 5-speed reel, and they pick up about 24 inches of line. They're great. The bigger round reels, definitely for throwing the big swim baits, your big 8, 10, 12-inch glide baits, things of that nature. But just don't be fooled that having a high-speed reel and cranking it slower means you're really slowing that bait down. You do slow it down, but you're not slowing down a 7.4 to 1 reel down to a 5.2 to 1 reel. You're not gonna cut that 10 inches of every handle turn out. And you really can't speed it up that much more. You can if you're really, really working it and you're really trying to move that bait a lot faster. You can burn it. If I'm going to burn baits, instead of wearing myself out trying to crank a 5-speed reel faster, I just go to my higher speed reels. It's just something you guys need to understand, why there's a difference in the different speeds and the different techniques that you want to use for those speeds. one of the things I was talking about was holding the rod tip higher or lower. If you're trying to stay above grass, um, instead of holding your reel straight or your rod straight out, if you do tip it up, you can keep you're going to have a higher point where the line's coming down, and it's definitely going to help elevate that bait. The same as, back in the day when we were trying to get crankbaits to dive an extra foot or two. You'd have a crankbait that dove 10 feet. You're trying to get it 12, 13 feet. We'd stick that rod down in the water and be cranking it while it was down in the water. If you're bank fishing, you definitely don't get that rod in the water as easy if you're hanging over the side of a boat, but you can tilt that rod down and crank down, and you will get that bait to dive a little deeper. Um, Again, this is just what my experience is with it. A few other anglers that I've talked to, it's kind of their same consensus on high speed reels versus low speed reels. In this case, we were just talking about bait casters. So something to definitely think about, guys, is when you're fishing different types of baits, there's definitely a different speed of reel to use with each one of them. I don't like giving up the torque that those low speed reels have when I'm fishing, especially big crankbaits and big glide baits and big swim baits. Um, Back in the day when I was first fishing, let me see if I've got it here. I don't have, let me, hold on 1 second, let me grab one of them real quick. Got a whole box dedicated to some of that stuff. That way I can kind of give you the right answers. You can see this is an old box of reels. These are some of my reels that I've had for 40 years. They still work flawlessly. I'm gonna try to pick one that's got maybe it has the specs on it. Yeah, this is a, hold on guys. I'm trying to find one with the speed marked on it. Yeah, none of them have the speed on, but like this old Bantam Shimano, I'm sure it was a 5-speed reel. And we had the Abu Garcia. I think this was what they called the 4600 series. It's got that real narrow spool. It'd be great for BFS. I'm sure, again, it was a 5-speed reel. Most of these don't have any speed marked on them. Well, here's an old Ryobi, the VMAG. They called it VMAG 4.0. It was a 5-speed reel. It's got kind of that narrow, shallower spool. Again, I was hoping to find something with a little bit more information on the reel, but it looks like most of our reels back then really weren't stamped with the speed on them. Definitely not. But again, back in the day when all we had were almost every reel was a 5-speed reel. We really didn't have a high-speed reel. I'm sure some of the guys out on the West Coast might have been a little further ahead of us and had some 6-speed reels back then. I just didn't have access to them. Maybe that's just because that's all my dad fished with was all 5-speed reels. And I mean, I keep looking through some of these older reels. You know, it's a 6-1 reel. That reel's only probably 15 years old. The older Corrados are probably close to 20 years now. But anyway, it's just something to think about, guys. Just because you want to slow down a high-speed reel, your high-speed reel slowing down is nothing compared to an original 5:2 to 0 ratio reel. You know, something like this guy. You know, it's and you can, if you really pay attention to it and you really go out and you test it yourself, you'll notice the difference. You're really not slowing that bait down, and a lot of times that'll cause you to miss fish. I've had this discussion online with 5 or 6 other guys that are out there tournament fishing, and It's kind of what got me on this subject. I wanted to bring it to you guys' attention on my channel. It's nothing new. You can search it out there. I'm sure there's several other YouTubers that are explaining it, kind of going over some more details than what I am. But I just wanted to kind of present that to you guys and let you know if you're missing some fish or you're not catching as many, check your reel speed and what you're fishing. You know, if you're trying to throw a moving bait on a 5-speed reel, you know, like a buzz bait, spinner bait, chatter bait, it may not be getting it exactly done. However, I have noticed that sometimes I'll go out, and I love this rod for chatterbait fishing, this crankbait rod. Throwing this 5-speed reel, I'll get bit more on this throwing my chatterbait than I will on my 7-speed. And vice versa. Some days they don't want it that slow. They want it on this higher speed reel. You know, and that's kind of one of the things to think about is the time of the year you're fishing, how aggressive your bass are. If they're not real aggressive, you're going to have to slow that bait down. And the easiest way to slow that bait down is with a slower speed reel. So anyway, guys, it's a real quick video on reel speeds. I hope you are enjoying some of the content that's out there. Again, guys, some of the stuff that I talk about is just my take on it, how I'm doing it. It's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just how I'm doing it and what works for me. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.